everybody for being here. It's nice to be able to spend this time with you. And I know everybody had just a fantastic day yesterday with our wonderful keynote session and awards ceremony and all the great sessions that happened yesterday. And I hope that everybody has had a chance to look through the pets of TCDL on Whova. I have spent a good bit of time going through and liking every single pet on there. We're really excited to have a chance to talk with you today at this, what we're calling the TDL Services Rodeo, which will be presented today by, next slide, the TDL staff. So greetings from all of us. We're going to take a minute here at the start to introduce ourselves to you, and we're going to be going in the order that you're seeing us on the screen here. So I'll start us off. As Leah said, I'm Christy Park. I am the Executive Director of TDL, and my pronouns are she, her.
Okay, I think I'm next. I did introduce myself earlier, but hi again. This is Leah DeForest, the Communications Manager with TDL.
Howdy, everybody. I'm Courtney Muma, Deputy Director of TDL, and I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Nick Lawland, one of the two Nicks, and I'm a sysadmin at TDL, and my pronouns are he, him.
And Clark Kim isn't able to be here with us, unfortunately, today. Clark is one of our other system administrator and our senior DevOps lead and AWS architect.
Hi, I'm Nick Woodward. That's me with shorter hair. I am a senior software engineer here at TDL, and my pronouns are he, him.
Everybody, this is Alex Suarez. I'm the conference planner and administrative associate over at TDL, and my pronouns are she, her.
Hi, Frank Smetniak. I'm a software developer at TDL focused on Vireo.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So one of the things that we love about TCDL every year is the opportunity for all of our staff to get to interact with all of you in a different way. I think you probably all hear from me a lot, or our members do, and from Courtney and Leah, but this is an opportunity for us to get all of our faces in front of you, so to speak, and tell you a little bit about what we've been up to as TDL staff on behalf of our members as it relates to our hosted services. So we're going to go through all of those services today. And if we can move to the next slide, these are our services that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be focusing on these a little bit for each one: digital repository hosting, our Vireo ETD management service, our Texas data repository, open access journal hosting, digital preservation services, DPLA metadata aggregation, and OER support. And we're going to talk a little bit about some work we've done over the last year to improve and shore up the underlying technology infrastructure for all these services. So this doesn't cover everything that we do as a consortium, but we wanted to have a chance to focus just on these services. And it's a lot. You can see we have lean staff and a lot of services that we're providing. And so in our hour or less than an hour today, we're going to really do some rapid fire updates for each one of these services. And we're going to start, next slide, with our hosted digital repository service, which uses the DSpace platform. And this slide shows the 17 members, the repositories for the 17 members for whom we host institutional repositories. We host a total of 21 DSpace repositories, and our members use these to collect, manage, and share all kinds of different digital materials, from research publications, student work, special collections, and institutional archives. I'm going to hand it off to Nick Woodward to talk a little bit more about what we've been up to with this service in the last year or so.
Next slide. Thank you. Hi, y'all. As you would imagine, TDL has been very busy over the past year working on several projects related to our digital repository hosting service. Earlier this year, we went into production with our DSpace usage reports for all of our hosted DSpace instances. They're developed in collaboration with TDL's DSpace users group and Adrian Shapiro from Texas Women's University. The usage reports include views and download statistics in the previous month, academic year, and total for communities, collections, and individual items. They're compiled into an Excel spreadsheet and emailed the first of every month to repository administrators. And as part of this project, we open sourced the Python code for the reports and released it on GitHub. Another achievement this year has been expanding and improving on the DevOps tooling we use to launch, configure, and maintain the DSpace repository software and its supporting services. As part of this effort to enable infrastructure as code, TDL has continued to develop tools for provisioning and configuring current and future versions of DSpace with the most up-to-date operating systems, database, and web hosting softwares. In the interest of sharing with the DSpace community, we have open sourced our Ansible playbooks for launching and configuring DSpace 7. Additionally, last year, we at TDL made it a point of emphasis to contribute back to the open source community around DSpace. And this took the form of working towards a new minor release version for DSpace 6. While a new release has been delayed for quite a while now, much of that work has already been approved and merged into the code base. Another focal point of our work has been to strengthen the bridge between our digital repository hosting and digital preservation services. And to that end, we worked with the folks at Lyrasis to improve the replication task suite DSpace module for backing up and storing digital content. Finally, with an eye towards the future, TDL has been assisting with the efforts to test and improve the upcoming DSpace 7 release, primarily through hosting a test instance of the software and partnering with Lyrasis to fund a full accessibility audit of the DSpace 7 beta to help ensure a release that is fully compliant with the web accessibility guidelines. And now I will hand it off to my colleague, Frank Smutniak, to talk about Vireo.
Texas Digital Library is proudly the open source home to the Vireo Electronic Theses and Dissertations Management System. It was originally developed at Texas A&M, the version 4. We host 14 TDL service members' Vireo applications and support their ETD staff and programs. The big news for Vireo over the last few years is the design, development, and release of Vireo 4. This is a new and improved version of Vireo that includes customizable workflows and better management of metadata. As primary developer for Vireo at TDL, I've been working to upgrade our TDL members to this new version. This work has included getting user feedback on migrated Vireo 3 data and testing for completeness and accuracy. I expect to have the first production Vireo 4 to be up and running very soon. On YouTube, you can check out the video of the training event that we offered to TDL members last summer. If you're a developer, you can dig into some of our new GitHub content and development documentation. This will soon include updated migration software publicly available on GitHub. Also, we discontinued the VireoETD.org website and moved everything to the conveniently located TDL wiki. We have enhanced our documentation to include lots of new content, including a handy reference page pictured here. This page highlights user interface and functional differences between the two versions. And these 4 links will take you to those locations. Next slide, please. So remember to save the date for the Vireo Users Group virtual annual meeting in October. Registration and other information is coming later this summer. You can also watch last year's virtual meeting on the TDL YouTube channel. We want to know more about the broader Vireo users community in order to serve them better. The Excellent Steering Committee for the Vireo Users Group has created a form that doesn't take long to fill out. It will help the developers understand more about our users. You'll see the survey on the Vireo Users Group listserv soon, or just follow the link on the slide. With that, I will hand you off to Courtney to talk about the Texas Data Repository.
Thanks, Frank. The Texas Data Repository Dataverse infrastructure supports TDL member liaison librarians as they build services to allow researchers to cite and disseminate their datasets that support their publications. This year, the TDR Steering Committee, made up of institutional liaisons and led by Chair Christina Chan Park of Baylor, worked together to advocate for better data curation and improved assessment tools, and engaged with the Global Dataverse Community Consortium and developers at Harvard to advance the software's capabilities. Some highlights from their work this year include the larger data proof of concept work led by Texas Advanced Computing Center's Anna Dabrowski and UT Libraries' Jessica Trelogan and Colleen Lyon as part of the Digital Object Lifecycle, or DOLCE project, and Planet Texas 2050, which you might have heard about in a session yesterday. Together with TDL and our contract developer, James Myers, we contributed code to the Dataverse software that allows researchers whose data sets are larger than the TDR's storage capacity to add their metadata to the repository for citation, management, and access while storing it on tax servers. Their report from the work is in the TDL repository, and the TDR Steering Committee continues to examine the feasibility of providing these services. TDL's governing board also approved a pilot data carpentry membership, so TDL members can learn fundamental data skills needed to support researchers. The TDR Steering Committee's carpentry subcommittee, seen here on the slide with the cohort, coordinated several hosted workshops and trained multiple TDL member librarians as future trainers. Next slide, please. The webinar series, Topics in Research Data Management, continues to provide free and wide-ranging presentations from experts in research data. You can find webinars from this series on the TDL YouTube channel. The TDR Steering Committee's Assessment Working Group have presented their poster this year, illustrating the growth of the TDR. Please do check it out. It's really impressive. Currently, the TDR includes over 1,600 data sets. And finally, our TDR Steering Committee identified some capstone projects and marketed them to 3 Texas library schools, resulting in UT graduate Brenna Wheeler working with Colleen Lyon, head of scholarly communications at UT Libraries, on data curation in the TDR, and UNT student Anya Pechanina working on R integration to Dataverse, mentored by Dr. Reed Boehm, research data management librarian at University of Houston. Please check out Brenna's report in the TDL repository and Anna's excellent poster during this conference. And now I'll hand off to Systems Administrator Nick Lowland for talking about some open journal hosting.
Howdy guys, I'm going to talk about open access journal hosting. TDL currently hosts 72 journals across 12 members using the open journal system from PKP, the Public Knowledge Project, which is housed at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. Previously, we'd provided OGS version 2, which had an old-fashioned, non-responsive, mostly text-based interface. But across the board, we've recently upgraded all journals to OGS 3, and all existing content was successfully migrated. This also included a modern, new infrastructure and hosting environment, which we've been able to do across all different services. OGS 3 includes major changes across the board, including visual themes, a new completely changed workflow, and the management backend is very different and much better organized. In all, it's been a bit of a learning curve for all of us. Recently, we've done a minor update to 3.2.1.2, which included many management level refinements, and but not much on the front end, so it's not very visible. Unfortunately, there were a few new bugs, and we are working on those. Luckily, also PKP are actively developing, and most of these bugs have already been reported and are being worked on. Finally, TDL is launching a new OGS user group, which will provide support for librarians who are managing journals locally. There will also be a new faculty user email list for journal managers to discuss editorial and management issues. I've included some links that will have much more information, both a TDL one and a PKP one. And I will now hand off to Courtney, who will be talking about digital preservation services.
Thanks, Nick. Back to me. TDL is very proud to share that our digital preservation service has significantly increased its membership over the last 2 years to 9 members. I've been able to provide consulting support to our newest members from Texas State, Texas Women's, Sam Houston State, and University of Texas San Antonio as they move through various stages of their digital preservation programs alongside Baylor, Texas A&M, UT Rio Grande Valley, Angelo State, and Stephen F. Austin. We host quarterly digital preservation interest group meetings open to the entire Texas digital preservation community. As TDL is a member of the National Digital Stewardship Alliance, or NDSA, they also get to assume leadership roles and share resources with that large community of digital preservation experts. TDL has also opened a channel in our community Slack instance that allows for digital preservation and imaging workers to intermingle. It's been so encouraging to see them sharing their experience and expertise with each other. And while membership is booming, TDL wants to see more of its digital preservation service members uploading their valuable cultural heritage and scholarly communications content into our digital preservation storage options, which are any combo of Amazon, S3, Glacier, and Chronopolis. That's why we're hosting our first ever Ingestapalooza from May 1st until September 1st, 2021. I apologize for my graphic here. It's not as good as Leah would have done. So whichever TDL DPS member institution uploads the most content into their selected digital preservation storage through their TDL DuraCloud will earn 1 free terabyte of storage in any of the selected systems for the term of 1 year, including any ingest fees. And additionally, after our first ever web archiving conference in late 2019 at Baylor, we started meeting quarterly as the Web Archiving Texas Interest Group, or WATSIG. This open meeting allows us to coordinate web archiving work in Texas and share wisdom, tools, and support each other through the pitfalls of web archiving. From this work, we were also able to form the TDL Archive It Consortium, allowing TDL's Archive It users a 10% discount annually off their subscription services prices for that service. Next slide, please. Most of our digital preservation service members have chosen the Chronopolis network based in academic libraries to replicate, store, and maintain their valued holdings over time. For that reason, TDL is proud to be a contributor and maintainer for the Chronopolis software suite. Clark Kim, TDL's Senior Systems Administrator, has successfully upgraded and supported multiple elements of the systems. Especially significant has been his work to move the Integrity Management Service, including the ACE Audit Manager, from its past host at the University of Maryland to our servers at the Texas Advanced Computing Center, or TAC. Additionally, he has alerted the Chronopolis leads at UC San Diego about the need for a remote backup of that system outside of TAC, and they have recently worked with him to provide a backup there in California. Our senior software developer, Nick Woodward, has also made great strides in learning the Chronopolis suite so that he can contribute on TDL's behalf. Nick is also a prominent contributor to Lyris's DuraCloud software project, and at times with Clark's help has identified issues that the lead developers were not yet aware of, saving everyone potential difficulties. Finally, TDL is also closing down our IMLS grant, looking at the feasibility of the preservation of private and sensitive data. That report is in progress, and we'll release it to our members as soon as it's ready. Now back to Nick Woodward.
Thanks, Courtney. In the past year, TDL has worked to onboard Houston Public Library, our first public library member, yay, to the Digital Public Library of America. This effort consisted of Ruby code to harvest and map the metadata from 41 cultural heritage collections in their library. The metadata is mapped according to the TDL DPLA metadata guidelines that were developed in our metadata working group in 2019. Additionally, we are in the process of onboarding cultural heritage collections from Stephen F. Austin State University, and our goal is to make the metadata from their collections available in DPLA this summer. Over the next couple of years, TDL's goal is to ensure that every one of our members with digital cultural heritage collections has the opportunity to have us harvest those collections for discovery in DPLA. The costs for doing this are modest, and there is information available about requirements and costs in our wiki. Finally, TDL has recently restarted work on refactoring our existing metadata search and discovery layer prototype to include the Spotlight application that will allow users the ability to manage their own digital collections. And now I will hand it off to my colleague Leah DeForest to talk about open educational resources.
Thanks, Nick. This is Leah again, TDL's Communications Manager and OER Support Service Manager as well. So TDL launched our first ever OER support service in fall 2019. And this service includes membership with the Open Education Network, which was formerly named the Open Textbook Network, which is an organization that, like Texas Digital Library, is embedded in higher education. Some of our OEN related activities include Train the Trainer workshops, an upcoming OEN Summer Institute, which will be fully virtual, and a series called Pub 101 that introduces new practitioners to publishing OER in an online workshop. We also have a discount program with Pressbooks, and we were really thrilled to see Pressbooks here on Monday giving a workshop. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Pressbooks, Pressbooks is an online book or document formatting system that librarians and faculty use to create books that are accessible on many platforms. And TDL members are eligible for a 30% off discount on the Pressbook plans. We also host quarterly member meetings, which is a new thing. We have one scheduled in June. These member meetings with OER practitioners or OER curious folks from TDL member institutions. Again, we have one that is scheduled for June. We're going to be sending out an update about that because we're going to need to reschedule it. So keep an eye out for that. We also coordinate another new thing, Open Texas, which is an annual conference that kicked off our very first conference last March in partnership with our good friends at the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and the Digital Higher Education Consortium of Texas, or Digitex. And certainly last but not least here, the OER ambassadors whose faces and pets you see in the photograph here. The OER ambassadors have committed to serve the consortium for a minimum of 2 years. They're developing a community of practice around OER and becoming a source of expertise for all of our consortium members. The ambassadors include representatives from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Texas Tech, Texas Women's University, University of Texas at Austin, University of Texas San Antonio, and West Texas A&M. So in addition to sharing and developing resources with TDL and the statewide OER community, the ambassadors are brainstorming ways to creatively promote OER on their campuses through faculty outreach and workshops, and providing a lot of moral support to each other. This group is just incredibly fun and generous and energetic, and getting to work with them is truly a pleasure. So some of our upcoming activities include that quarterly OER meeting, and we'll paste a link where you can sign up for our listserv in chat. So look for a new date and time for that. We're creating shared resources for implementing course marking on your campus. And in a couple of weeks, a few of us will be presenting at the Texas A&M System Virtual Library Conference. We also we're going to start promoting the Open Education Network's Summer Summit. That is open to anyone who's interested in OER. There are a few sessions that look pretty great that are going to be only open to members, and so our TDL members will have access to those. I think that's it for me, and now I'm going to hand things back over to Christy.
Thanks, Leah, and thanks to all of our TDL staff for those great updates. This is such a great group of people to work with and serve our membership with. And you can see this has been a lot of information about a lot of different things, a lot of different services. So it's kind of maybe a lot to process. For our members, there might be a lot of review here, but we want to give you a sense of how much is really going on with the services we provide and the staff who are doing that work for you. Before we kind of move on, I do want to take a minute to recognize and talk about an area of our work that often goes unremarked upon because it's not highly visible to our users or our members, but it is absolutely essential to the secure and smooth running of our services, all those services we just discussed. And that's the work largely undertaken by our systems administrators, led by Clark Kim, who couldn't be here with us today, to manage and maintain the underlying infrastructure components of our hosted services, most of which use Amazon Web Services and exist in the Amazon cloud. This work includes architecting, maintaining, evaluating, and improving our services in AWS. That means creating and updating launch scripts, monitoring and evaluating new instance types. Managing costs is a big one, what we lovingly refer to as the AWS healthy lifestyle that we try to keep ourselves on. He has implemented email improvements across all of our hosted applications like OJS and DSpace. We've upgraded monitoring systems for all of our hosted applications and implemented automated monthly system updates to do security patches on an automated basis. And finally, this includes making sure that the internal tools and systems that allow our technology staff to access all of these systems and services are secure and working well for them. So again, this is sometimes invisible work to our users, but it's really valuable. And it's also core to the value proposition of this shared services model that we operate under. It makes it possible for us to create this shared infrastructure and offer services affordably for our members. Next slide, please. So as we're gonna start kind of wrapping up here, and then we want to hear your questions for us, but I want to take just a second to talk to you about future plans and big picture plans for where we intend to go in the next couple of years. We adopted a new strategic plan coming into this year, and you can find it at the link on this slide. It's also in the TDL repository. I encourage you to read the full plan if you haven't already. But I want to mention briefly the strategies that we've identified to guide our efforts over the next couple of years. And first of all, that includes partnerships with members and other external organizations to broaden access to scholarly cultural heritage and educational materials. This includes supporting migrations to open infrastructure. It includes partnering with global open source software communities and other community organizations to support the growth of a sustainable global infrastructure for libraries, and supporting the use of open educational resources through our OEN membership and our OER ambassadors program. Secondly, we're striving to create value for members through shared resources, through maintaining our core services and fostering innovation where we find opportunity, through growing and enhancing professional development and training opportunities, and growing our digital preservation service usage. Thirdly, we are committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in order to ensure broad and equitable access to our tools, content, and communities. We have several initiatives in the works here, including a goal to have all of our service platforms in compliance with WCAG accessibility guidelines. And you heard a little bit from Nick Woodward about our work with DSpace there. We're going to begin and continue working on this issue with our other platforms as well. And we're also wanting to implement the steps of our anti-racism action plan that we released earlier this year. And finally, we're working to strengthen our organizational sustainability through membership growth and diversification of our funding sources. We've got several initiatives related to identifying and executing multi-institutional grant proposals, but we also want to grow our membership. And we can move on to the next slide. Speaking of sustainability, so we are sustained by this group currently of member institutions. And I think that you can probably hear from all of our remarks about all of these services that while we have the TDL staff here talking about the work that we've done, the work that we do is not just done by TDL staff, it's done in collaboration with our members through working groups, through product owners that exist out in the membership and work with us, through partnerships with open source communities globally. And so this work that we're really doing together and in collaboration with our members. We're so grateful to these members for putting their trust in TDL to provide this essential infrastructure. And we invite other institutions interested in becoming part of this community to reach out to us. We need your energy and expertise to continue growing the digital libraries community in this region. So we will have more opportunities for folks to talk to us about membership if you're interested in that. We'll be hosting an open house, a TDL open house next month on June 18th, and we'll be sending out invitations for that for anyone out there interested in just learning more about TDL and what it means to be a member, and we hope you'll join us for that. With that, I believe we're at the end of our prepared remarks, and we want to thank all of you for being here, and we hope you have lots of questions for us. Please feel free to put those in the Q&A or in chat, and we'll get to those as we're able to. And I want to say an extra thank you to Courtney and Leah and Clark and Nick and Frank and Alex for their work in putting these slides together and presenting today.
Y'all, we have about 15 minutes for questions. If anyone has a question, I'm looking in Q&A. I don't see anything there. If you have a question in chat, I'm going to take a look, but please feel free to ask us any questions. You can also unmute and ask through your mic if you're interested. Okay, don't see any questions in chat, so let us know. Thanks, Colleen. Feeling is mutual. You are also incredibly awesome. Okay, double checked. I don't see any questions in chat or Q&A, so please feel free to type in chat or Q&A or unmute if you wanted to ask us anything. Alexa Height, that was a really great question. Alexa Height is our leads our OJS user group and is part of our TCDL planning committee, and she wanted to ask how everyone at TDL is so wonderful and awesome. And
These are not the hard-hitting questions I was expecting.
Right.
Well, thanks, Alexa and Colleen. I mean, as Leah said, the feeling is mutual, and we are. When I say we're sustained by our members, I don't just mean financially, right? We're sustained through our interaction and the collegiality of this community, And so we appreciate that. We appreciate all of our members' contributions to the work that we do. I will say, if there aren't questions, I'll just mention that we have lots of ways for folks to get in touch with us. So if you do have questions, you can always find us at info@tdl.org. We have a monthly TDL forum that's just a 30-minute phone call where we kind of give brief updates about what we've been up to, and all are welcome. It's very member focused, but anybody's welcome to join, and there's information on our website about that. And so we hope that you'll stay in touch with us and follow up with us if any questions come up.
There was a question from James. This is a good one. I don't know if we have the number just at our fingertips, but James from Texas A&M asks, so many great services available, thank you. How many does the average institution utilize? I think we have that number somewhere, but I don't have it memorized.
I don't either, James. I think most use 2 or more. We only have a couple who are using one service of all of these. And we only have 1 or 2 that are using everything, right? Actually, I don't think we have any that are using every single thing. But I would say, I mean, this is just kind of off the top of my head because I don't have the numbers in front of me either, but something around 3 is probably at the mean or the median.
Well, as people start to peel off, and I know some of you are presenting in our 11 o'clock sessions, I'm going to go ahead and I'll keep an eye out on chat and Q&A if any new questions or comments come through. But as you start to peel off, just a few last minute announcements. I do want to thank you all for joining us today, and thank my colleagues at TDL for making work and life so fun. I want to encourage everyone here to join us for upcoming TDL sessions throughout the remainder of the day. We have some great presentations and lightning talks. We have a Birds of a Feather that's the culmination of our Leadership Academy webinar series. We'd love to see you there. And I also want to say, please take a look at our posters and our poster presenters. I did paste a few links into chat to specific posters that are either related to TDL's work. Some of them include posters from capstone students who worked with us and our members, and would really love it for you to take a look at those and then also participate in our poster scavenger hunt. We also hope you'll join us for our TDL social hour tomorrow afternoon from 5 to 6 p.m. Central. I can't remember if I pasted a link to chat with where you can register, but I'll be sure to do that here in a second. This is just very informal and casual and just kind of a fun way to recap the conference when maybe everyone has a day or so to rest up. We're also looking to gauge interest in forming a new member group around research integrity. We have a survey for you to take, which are going to help us iron out some details about this group, and I'm going to paste a link into chat. And then I do hope you saw we have some really amazing sponsors this year who are taking. Some of them are coming back, some of them are new, and they're sponsoring our first fully virtual conference. And there's some discounts and all kinds of stuff happening in the exhibitors booth. So I do hope you'll take a look over there. And I'm going to paste a link to our social hour here, just a sec. Somewhere, I'll find it.
And Leah, I don't know if anyone's left in the room, but if they are,
Oh yeah.
And if there aren't questions, I just want to say, Christy said this a little bit, but this past 18 months, the groups that I host or am in TDL, this community has really sustained me in a lot of ways. There were times when I didn't have the energy and they did, and it really helped me back up. So I just didn't want to go without saying that, especially given this opportunity with all of us here together.
Agreed. Yeah, Alexa did ask that we, will next year's TCDL be in person? I think that's the plan. We tend to have TCDL the week before Memorial Day. And so we don't have a proper save the date for you just yet, but keep that in mind. And I don't see any other questions. And so I think we can end just a few minutes early if that works for everybody.
That sounds good. Everybody take a break before your next sessions and we'll see you there. Thanks, Leah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Bye, y'all.